Hey, whoever's out there. I got sent this one, so they said I wasn't gonna get mad. So, judging by the title, it's not really clickbaity, and it's a Mixdown online: how to hook up external preamps to your interface. Do you really need one? So, sounds promising. Could be infuriating. And I don't really know this channel. I think I might have seen something by it before, but oh, here you go. Got a beard. Super original. I like that his shirt doesn't say anything. That's like that old BMX joke, right? Where you have the totally blank clothes, they're just colored, no logos, and you're like, I'm totally sold out. But of course, there's a band practicing in the background, and just like last time, I'm lacing up a wheel. So let's see how this goes, and we'll see what we got here.
Let's check how we can hook up these preamps to an interface like this one. But the question is, do you really need external preamps for your recordings? Or is...
I'm right there with you, dude. That's a good question. And the answer for anybody who's been following along and actually testing these things is not really. I mean, if you need something that has a lot more gain, it's kind of starting to look like you're not even getting that much less noise out of the really expensive ones anymore. But you can always go to my page, pipelineaudio.net, and you can see actual tests of actual mic preamps from like El Cheapos to really expensive ones, and kind of answers that question for you. But let's see what he has to say.
But the question is, do you really need external preamps for your recordings? Or is working with the preamps on your audio interface good enough? Hey, what's going on? Crystal Lim here from Mixdown Online. Now, before we jump in, you can check out my free workshop on how to build the perfect mix template so we can speed up your mixing workflow. The link is down below. Okay, now in this video, what I'm going to talk to you about is how you can connect preamps like these to an audio interface like this one, which is an entry-level interface. This one is the Audient ID14MK2 that I actually reviewed not too long ago. And then I'm going to show you my thoughts on if it's really a need to work and record with external preamps. But first, let's look at what we have here. Now, on my side, I have my Vintech 473. Those are 4 preamps. So first, what you need to do if you want to connect an external preamp to an interface is to look at the back of the preamp and look for the output that you have. Like on the back of the preamp, you will have a microphone input and also an output. That can be an XLR output or a 1/4 inch output. I have both on my side with this unit. I have an XLR balanced output and also an unbalanced 1/4 inch output. On the audio interface side, when we're recording, we are dealing with 3 different types of input levels. We have the microphone level input, which is the level that comes out of a microphone before it gets amplified. And this runs between -60 dBu to -40 dBu. We also have instrument level input. That is the level of an instrument, like an electric guitar, an electric bass, and that will run at around -20 dBu. And lastly, we have the line level input, which runs at +4 dBu. And this comes from a signal processing gear or pro gear like preamps, for example. So that's why on an interface like this one, we have an instrument input, okay, which is going to manage the instrument level input for electric guitars, bass guitars, and so on. And we also have at the back of this one, which is probably the same for a lot of those interfaces, we have combo inputs, which are like these, you know, where you can connect an XLR cable and also a TRS cable or a 1/4 inch cable. So those are combo inputs. You can find them on a bunch of different interfaces, like the Evo 8 that I have right here. I also have them on my AXR4 right at the back here, and also on the UR-RT4, which also has combo inputs, okay? So the cool
You know what? This guy's actually making sense. Who sent me this one, man? This is actually good. I don't know what I've got supposed to be complaining about. This is pretty cool. I like this guy. I have to watch more of his videos.
The thing about combo jacks is that if not specified, they will detect what kind of cable is actually connected to the jacks, and they will adapt the input level according to what is plugged in, you know. So if you plug in an XLR cable, it's going to go into a mic level input, and if you connect a 1/4 inch TRS cable, it's going to switch to a line input. So what I do on my side to connect external preamps like these, I use a female XLR to TRS, okay, cable to just, you know, connect that to the back and straight in the combo input that I have here. And this way the interface will detect that I'm using a TRS cable and will switch that input to a line level input. And very important,
just so you know, not all of these will do that. That's kind of the bummer. Like sometimes you think it's gonna, and it's not. So be sure. You know, it's kind of hard to test, but you should be able to, or it should say, but half the time it doesn't. So.
To bring the level of the preamp to 0. The preamp is going to be managed by, you know, the level of the external preamp and not the one on the interface. But again, you need to make sure that the input you're going to use to connect your external preamp is supporting line level, okay? Because some don't. Let me show you. For example, I have my UR-RT4 and it's you can see it right on top. You know, the first 2 preamps will not support line level. They will support IZ, which is basically an instrument level input, and also an XLR input. Now, input 3 and 4 will support line level, okay? So this is where I would, in this case, using the UR-RT4, this is where I would connect my external preamp, straight on input 3 and 4. Or at the back, I also have input 5 and 6 that are also line level inputs, okay? So those also are good to connect an external preamp. So just make sure that the input you're using to connect the gear supports line level, or else the signal coming into your interface is going to be way too loud. Because on paper, I could just use this, you know, this XLR cable connected to the XLR output straight on an XLR input on the interface, but my signal is going to be way too loud, and I'm going to have to bring the level of the preamp very low, okay? And this is kind of defying the purpose because, you know, you're using an external preamp probably because you love the tone and sound of that preamp. So if you keep...
I'd say probably because you think you have you love the sound of that preamp. If your preamp has a sound, I'm sorry. Remember how many tests we've actually done on this and how few times people actually get this stuff right? I don't think your preamp has a sound. You might think your preamp has a sound. Your preamp probably doesn't have a sound. I know that strains all my credibility, and nobody should ever listen to me again for saying that, but somebody's measured that, and somebody's found that that's true.
Keep that preamp very low, you're not going to get the full tone that the preamp can give you. So again, one option is to use an XLR.
So there, okay, so now we're getting into it. Sorry. You know, we have this nonlinear idea, but when we did these tests, it turned out that these things are pretty damn linear, especially the back in the day ones where you didn't really have an output control if you're taking the direct out. So I don't believe this. Let's just let this go. I'm putting together a set of BSD rims which use the crossover lace, you know, so it's I'm having a very hard time. I laced one set wrong before. In fact, let me see if I can turn my let's turn the camera on here. I'll show you what I'm working on. Actually, I don't know if that's going to work or not. Maybe not. Maybe. There we go. So this is a if I don't get it in the right place, then I won't be able to get the valve, the tire pump in there. So it always drives me nuts if I do this wrong, but you know what? I don't know what I'm doing, so we'll see.
Our female to male TRS cable, which looks like this. And this is a balanced cable, okay? So the difference between a balance and an unbalanced cable, if we look at those 2 1/4 inch connectors, the balanced cable has 2 rings on the connector, on the 1/4 inch connector, opposed to the unbalanced cable. So that's why we call this version of a 1/4 inch cable a TRS cable, which stands for tip, ring, and sleeve. And on a lot of preamps, you also have the option on using a 1/4 inch output. So avoid using unbalanced cables to connect external preamps to an audio interface, unless otherwise specified, like it is in my case with the Vintech 473. I love sparkling water. Like bubbly is like the best. That is the best around, I'm telling you. Not sponsored. So now the big question, do you need to work and record with external preamps? The answer is simple. It depends, you know. There's nothing wrong with the preamps found on an interface like this one, okay? You can record high quality music using only the preamps out of this interface, in my opinion anyways. So it has nothing to do with the quality of the music in a way. First, you know, if you need more than 4 preamps, like this one has 4 preamps, my AXR4 has 4 preamps. In my case, most of the time, 4 preamps is gonna be enough. I'm a drummer, I have an acoustic drum that I record once in a while. So for me, working with external preamps is a kind of a must. So the amount of input and preamps you need for your recording sessions is gonna determine if you need to invest into external preamps or not, to start with. Then there's a matter of tone and character that you want to add to the signal you're recording.
Yeah,
like these preamps, you know, the preamps found on any of these interfaces will sound clean, neutral, you know, without any character and color. So this is what you'll get.
So here we go. Now we're getting into the claims here, and as my tests have shown, and as we've all shown with anybody who's actually tested this stuff, the stuff with that allegedly has character is pretty damn clean too. So I don't know. It's probably gonna, you know, here's the thing. People make this claim all the time that this is character, there's this sound, this tone to these preamps or whatever. Yet they never bring numbers. And then the guys who make the claim that they're pretty much linear and pretty flat, like me, we actually bring numbers. We actually bring charts. We actually measure things. We run them through oscilloscopes. We run them through testing software and stuff. And when, but yet every time somebody talks about character and tone and tells you how deaf you are if you don't hear it, they never ever bring measurements. Have you noticed that? It's like, you know, when everybody's making a claim and they tell you to take it on faith, just take it on faith. That's really what's going on here. This is the like Pine Creek Doug has the Mr. T saying, "Shut up, fool." That's really what they're saying. Is I'm saying that this thing does this thing or it has this character or whatever, but they never bring up any evidence for it. But to me, you know, like they say, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and none is forthcoming here. But I do like the sensible nature of this guy's channel. He's been pretty good about the technical side of things. I don't believe in this character and all this stuff. I mean, if it could be there, just show it. You know, I was raised in this religion, and I really used to believe it, and I know how many great albums we did with this stuff, but I don't believe that it couldn't be done with just as well with the stuff that they're saying doesn't have character, which sounds exactly the same as the stuff that they claim to have character. But anyway, let me keep going here.
Yeah, which is okay. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can do in post during the mixing stage to add a bit more character to a clean signal.
Character word again.
But this is what you're going to get. Some will reach for external preamps for the tone, for the color, the character that it's going to give you, and that can be a big advantage. So if you look at the console that I have here in the back, I only use that console for the preamps to record my drums on top of you know, the 4 preamps that I have on my Vintech. And the cool thing about working with these preamps is that you have the input, the gain level, and you also have an output level that you can play with, which is going to allow me to add some saturation out of the preamp itself.
Yeah, in that case, you're actually running out of its linear range.
Cool. So by just bringing down the output level, I can crank up the input.
You know, if we actually go here, and when we actually look, and I mean zoomed in to like the 1/10 of a decibel. Let's just go. I mean, this is like a 1/10 of a decibel we're looking at here. That's a piece of crap right there. But here's a cheapo Behringer, flat, no distortion, not much noise. The newer Behringers, they're still just as flat. This looks not so flat because this this you know, because it's scaled in so much. But if you look, that's 1/10 of a decibel, and it's almost a decibel down between 10K and 20K. But still, again, that's nothing. And the funny thing is that these are the preamps that because we did the X30, the M32, the Midas as well, the actual Midas one, not the Behringer one. And it reads exactly like this. It's actually a little bit quieter, but the frequency response is the same. And so you kept hearing all these people talk about how when you turn the Midases up, you get this buttery, incredible flavor. But no, here you go. All the way up to 3 decibels. I mean, I'm cranking into this thing. It makes no distortion. It's the same. It's completely linear. Here's the Focusrites. Here's the 18i20, super flat. Octapre Mark II, super flat. So anybody talking crap about these things, they are really flat. Mark of the Unicorn 896. Some weird stuff when you, not too surprised, but that of us is a little bit screwy. You know, old M Audio Fast Track was pretty noisy, but here's the M32. See, and there's Neves in here. There's Amex. So, where's that color? Where's that character? And where is it out of its linear range?
Get a bit of, you know, tone and character and a bit of saturation
Keep saying it.
to the
Stop
signal I'm
saying that.
recording, and balance that out with the output level. So this is one advantage that I have when working with a vintage type external preamp like my
not a
Vintech
vintage type. That
473.
thing's got
On
like
the other
four-
hand,
okay.
you also have interface.
So part of the religion was that, you know, amplifiers are bad. You put the least amount of amplifiers in a path as you possibly can, and they should all be Class A, and they should all be discrete components, right? Not all Neves were Class A, by the way, and not all of them were discrete, by the way. But in this guy's case, it looks like he's got some Yamaha mixing console back there. I guarantee that's Class AB, and it's got amplifiers all over the place. And I guarantee that thing is not discrete. So this is just like, people just hear this stuff and they just say it and they believe it. I believed it until I actually tested it.
Cases like the UR-RT4 that has a transformer that you can activate that will add this type of character to your
Oh, there you go, character again. So what happened a couple shows ago where we actually checked out what the actual transformer parameters were and how incredibly hard it really is to make the transformer actually not pretty much WYSIWYG past what you're putting into it. So again, this is just claims, you know, but if you're going to bring in claims, you got to bring evidence. Extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence, you know. There we go again. I really believe that.
signal. And also on my main interface, the XR4, the 4 preamps that I have on this interface has the silk option, which is going to add some character and saturation to the sound. So it's giving me a similar tone than what an external...
If we gave this guy an ABX test and switch between all these things, how many you think he's going to get right better than chance? Really? All right, so you guys want to yell at me, yell at me.
Preamp is going to give me. And there's also interfaces like UAD that will give you access to super low latency recording using preamp emulation plugins, which is also very nice. As far as getting a preamp for tone, my advice is simple. I have a list of priorities when it comes to recording gear, or mixing gear. You need to go by priority. So, do you really need an external preamp for recording? That is a personal choice at this point. It depends on your situation.
No.
If, like me, you need more input.
Absolutely no. Unless you need a mic preamp that has more gain than you're getting off your interface, the answer is no. It's not personal, it's not whatever. You might want another preamp, but you definitely don't need one than the one in your interface. Yeah, the answer is no. Just come on, man. It's not opinion. It's if you want one, go get one, but that's not need.
Inputs and preamps then available on your sound interface, you have your answer. If you're looking for tone only, that is a very good option if you want to improve the tone of the sound you're recording, so that can be a very good option.
Now, just made a claim that it's going to improve the tone. You got to bring evidence. It's like, because so many people have said it for so long, this has become like some sort of capital T truth that people just assume is right, but just because you say it a whole bunch of times doesn't mean it's true.
good option, and that can also affect the way the microphone is going to sound like when working with a high quality microphone preamp. It can make your microphone sound different in a good way. But for tone, there's always the
okay, again, I want to see proof of this. I want to see proof that this guy would actually hear that it's a different mic preamp than another one. I don't believe it. Could be. I don't believe it.
The option of plugins. There's a bunch of preamp emulation plugins that you can work with that will add that kind of character to a very clean sound that you recorded with your sound interface. I'm actually going to make a video in the near future talking about some of these plugins that are actually very cool. Now, if you're new to music,
let me let you in on a developer secret from people who actually make that stuff. We exaggerate that. We go way over the top. Like, there could be this perceived difference, and so we add it. You know, one of the things that people think about Neves are like, you know, all this warmth on the bottom end, right? But what did Rupert Neve say? The big deal that he found was that one of his was tested flat out to like 50 kilohertz or whatever, or had a boost on it. And if you actually, when we measured that AMEC, what did that AMEC had? Had a pretty hefty high frequency boost, right? Wasn't flat, wasn't warm. It was boosted on the highs like all hell. So
production and recording, I would say that a microphone preamp is not the first on the list of priorities. Okay, I'm going to say make sure you have like a good interface to work with, a good computer.
But again, let me be clear. If you need lower noise, there still are some mic preamps that have slightly lower noise, especially if you got tricked into buying an SM7B. If you got tricked into buying one of those, you might need a special mic preamp, but just like that other video showed, probably not. Even with the Behringer, was better off than with the Cloud Lifter thing. So, but yeah, I know what's that? The one that's here. I'm gonna say this Brent Averill thing I got here. It has like a ton of gain. I can crank up this RE20 or a SM7, no problem.
Computer and invest in your skills to start with, and then go down the priority list of equipment you can invest in that will improve your sound. But before then, I would not suggest you to invest into a microphone preamp. But if you have more experience producing and recording, and you already have a good interface, good microphones.
Isn't that funny? The more experience you have, to the point where in any other industry you would have hopefully gotten out of the placebo, right? Well, I guess there's chiropractors out there, but in most industries, the more experience you have, hopefully the less you're going to allow quackery, right? You would know it. So it's funny that the guys with the more experience are the ones who buy the expensive microphone preamps that they don't need. So, you know, either they're wrong or I'm very wrong, because I'm at odds with most everybody in the industry, aren't I? But unlike them, I can back it up with numbers. I can back it up with tests. And I dropped a spoke on the ground, and I'm never going to see it again in here. So, what in the world? Oh, let me go on here.
And you want to improve your sound somehow? Yeah, maybe a good high-quality external mic preamp.
Okay, again, man, you're making these claims. How is that going to improve your sound? What does it do? If your mic preamp's already flat, are you going to make it flatter, or do you mean improve it like this AMEC where they boost the treble to where it wasn't at before, where you actually artificially turn up the treble? Maybe you don't want to turn up the treble right there. What do you mean by better? Less distortion? Show me that any of these things you got have less distortion. It's true they could, but I doubt the ones you do have. So let's see.
Will do the trick. So those are my thoughts on working with external preamps. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, share and like. And if you're new here on the channel, feel free to subscribe to the channel and to click the notification bell so you don't miss anything.
I'm probably going to watch more of this guy's videos. It's pretty cool. This one right here, expensive pickups in a cheap guitar. Is it worth it? So I'm just going to say right off the bat, when you're talking about electric guitar, your sound is the pickups. You know, I mean, you guys... You know, electric guitar is a motor, right? I know you guys believe in tone wood or whatever, but even if you do, you're still most of your tone is your pickup, right? So expensive pickups and a cheap guitar. What does cheap guitar mean? Like, like those guitars that World Music Instruments in Korea makes. They make some for ESP, and they make some for Rondo or Agile or whatever. I mean, is one of those cheap, even though if they're made exactly the same? I love my Agiles. What does cheap even mean? But let's just see. I'm going to say that expensive pickups, I don't know if the pickups got to be expensive, but you know, the pickups you like, if you like the sound of the pickups and you put it in a cheap guitar, unless something is grossly broken, it's going to sound exactly the same as if you put it in an expensive guitar. There is no difference. So let's see what these guys have to say. But, you know, I'm just going by the laws of physics and electronics here.
So here's the question. If we have a really cheap guitar, can we transform that guitar by putting some really expensive pickups in it? Is that alone going to be enough to turn an average guitar into something amazing?
Well, wait. So are we talking about sounds amazing or plays amazing? If we're talking about sound, what all parameters do you really have when it comes to an electric guitar? You got the scale length? Possibly. I know you guys are going to debate that one. But possibly the scale length, right? And then the other part is the pickups, right? I mean, what else is there? So where you put the pickup, okay, that's going to make a difference. How far away from, usually mostly the neck ones, if you got a 24 fret or whatever. Like Scott Grove kind of showed that even that is a little bit of misunderstanding, but not really, not too much. But what else is there? What else is it about a cheap or expensive guitar that makes it a cheap or expensive guitar, besides the sound wise? I mean, of course, you know, I scallop my guitars, right? That's not cheap. If I were to have somebody else do it anyway. I like neck through bodies. That's not cheap, right? But a lot of you guys with their guitars that you love the tone of, they're bolt-ons. So I don't know. I mean, what else is it going to do? But it seems like there's a little bit of a straw man going on here, because he's also saying, is it going to be an amazing guitar? Well, maybe it plays like crap, you know? So, yeah, just changing the pickups on it, it's not going to help it not play like crap, right? You might like the sound of it more, though.
Hey everyone, Dan here. Welcome to the vlog. Okay, really cheap guitar with really expensive pickups. This is a guitar I bought for my daughter a couple of Christmases ago. It looks like a Telly.
Did you steal your guitar from your daughter, dude? Come on.
It's a Squire Telly, Affinity Telecaster, I think they call it. Not expensive, it's like sub £200. And it's fine. Okay, I'm going to try and be as methodical about this as I possibly can. Okay, I do have my massive pedal board, which consists of a Keeley modded blues driver, and that's only there to add a little bit of gain for a couple of the sounds. But the settings will remain exactly the same. Okay, apart from that, it is going directly into a deluxe reverb. To get started with the original pickups in the guitar, I've done as much as I can to get these as balanced as possible. Okay, so bridge pickup, neck pickup.
Actually, sounds great to me. I must be an idiot.
So the balance between them is off for me. The neck is very dark, the bridge is uber bright. So I'll just play for a bit and we'll hear some tones from the original pickups, then we'll do the pickup swap and we'll see what the new ones sound like.
that pickup. That make me a noob. Okay.
Okay, I've managed to borrow a set of Ron Ellis pickups for this. Ron has loaned me a 60T bridge and a Julian Lage neck, while he's rewinding a vintage set of pickups for me. Okay, so taking pickups out of a Telecaster, it's always a bit of a mare. This is a top-loading bridge. You'll see the strings go through the bridge and not through the body. It does make it a bit easier, but it's it's always a bit fiddly. When we get the bridge pickup out, you'll see, boy, that's a hairy arm. You'll see that there's a magnet that goes along the base of the pickup. And that's unusual because normally each pole piece is a magnet. And the coil wraps around that, but not in this case. It's more like a P90 construction where you've got steel pole pieces and just the bridge. We'll take a DC resistance measurement, which is 7.56. That's a really nice place for a vintage style bridge. Okay, 5.95 measurement for the Julian Lage neck. That's low. When you're taking a DC measurement, if you're measuring between two types of the same pickup, you can fairly confidently say that the higher the DC resistance, the more output it's going to be. But really, that output is determined by the number of turns on the coil and the sort of magnets you're using, that sort of thing. Okay, let's get it back together, and we'll see
I'm sorry,
what we've got.
I thought both of these videos would be a lot more controversial.
And it's quite remarkable. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about a coil of wire's ability to create voltage, okay? And the differences between the two, there's a different dynamic element there.
This is boring. Okay,
And-
so actually, I like that he's talking about pickups. I like that he's got a picture of a Manly Vox box on his computer screen there. There was another one that somebody was... What the hell was it? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Sorry. It's funny that you get like 15 of these channels. They're all saying the exact same thing. I've never seen this guy before. Who's this? Everything Music and Recording. You guys seen this?
Do you need external mic?
It's got a of course, it's got a surprise face with the beard. So it must be legit. Oh, he's got a nose ring too. So let's find out.
Freeze, or is your audio interface good enough? Alright, so this week we're answering a viewer question from Mike Hilbin. And also, if you're looking to learn music theory or improve your guitar playing, Mike's got a really great channel on that. He's pretty new to YouTube as well, so I'm going to leave a link to his channel below, so check it out after this.
Tell him, Megatron. Do as I command!
Okay, jeez.
But the gist of Mike's question is, do you really need an external mic preamp, or are the preamps in your audio interface good enough? Is an external preamp going to help improve your recordings? So this is actually a pretty...
Let me make a prediction right here. If he says that they're good enough, I don't know. If he says they're good enough, fine. If he says that it's going to improve by using another one, I'm going to predict that he's not going to tell you how it would improve. How about that? Is that a safe prediction? I don't know. This doesn't really look like a cheese channel, but we'll see. And I don't think he's going to bring any evidence if he does say that you need a different one.
difficult question to answer, so let's start unpacking this. So whether or not you actually need external mic pre's is sort of a yes, no, it depends sort of question. Now, I think among people who are new to recording, I think a lot of them have this misconception that a really good preamp is going to completely change their recordings, which really it's not. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, a good mic preamp is always great to have. But at the same time, a good mic pre is just one component amongst a number of components that are going to make your sound. So in order to kind of best explain where a preamp would fit into the mix, let's travel back into time. We'll go back to the days long before Pro Tools, Logic, and computers, just to give you an idea of where the preamp sort of sits in the mix here. So for sake of argument, we're going to pretend we got a 24-channel inline console feeding a 24-channel tape machine. Now let's say you've got a really great acoustic guitar player playing in a really nice sounding room. So there's components 1 and 2. We got a really good guitar player and a really good sounding room. And I guess 3 would be a really good sounding guitar. So now you stick a really good microphone in front of that. Now that signal is going to come into the mic pre on the console, which along with the microphone and how you position it on the guitar is going to change the sound of the guitar a little bit. Mic pre is going to add a little bit of its own color to it.
Is it really? Is it really? There we go. So, you know, one of the things that, if you guys don't know, way back in the day, when you had that console, you just used whatever preamps it had on it. I mean, you know, the people like the Neves because, you know, they like the Neves. People like the Tridents, people like the APIs. It wasn't about the sound of the mic preamp or whatever. You barely ever had guys walking around with mic preamps back then. You did from time to time, but they just used whatever mic preamps are on the board, and they were happy with it. And you know, you can. It's so sad that Rupert Neve just died, but he would give talks where you could hear about how the noise was on these things, why he did the things he did. It wasn't because they wanted to color the stuff; they wanted the stuff flat. They wanted a straight wire with gain. But anyway, let's go on.
Now from the mic pre, that guitar signal is going to come down the channel strip. It's going to hit an EQ, potentially a compressor. So 2 more items that are going to change the way the guitar sounds. Now that signal is going to be fed over to the tape machine, which depending on how hard you're hitting the tape machine, that's also going to change the sound of the guitar. Now coming back from the tape machine back into the console, we might be EQing that guitar a little bit more, maybe adding a little bit more compression. Again, continuing to change the guitar sound. Now again, for sake of argument, let's pretend on top of this guitar track you've recorded a couple extra guitar tracks. Maybe you've tracked some bass, you've tracked some drums, and you've tracked some vocals, all through the same process. So now on the console, you're going to have your guitar tracks go to one bus, you're going to have your drums go to another bus, bass vocals to their own buses. So the way that console sums these tracks together in the buses, that's going to have an effect on the sound. And now when all your buses are summed together to come out the main output...
That's another claim, right? How many times have we heard that claim? And yet, that's just another one where when you ABX them, they can't tell. Even though those summing mixers are a killer industry right now.
But the master bus, that's going to change the sound, especially if you're using a bus compressor or anything like that. And then that signal would eventually hit a 2-track tape machine. So that 2-track tape machine is going to change the sound, and then that 2-track tape is going to be sent off to be mastered, which again is going to continue to change the sound. Now, even if you take the tape machine and replace it with a Pro Tools rig, the process is pretty much the same, except Pro Tools isn't really going to change the sound. It's not designed to do that unless you're throwing plugins on it. So when you look at it that way, yes, a good preamp is always important, but it's just one component amongst a number of components that are going to affect how your recordings sound. All right, so...
But that wasn't the question. So, if you... In order for this to be the answer to the question your friend asked, you would have to show why the ones on his interface aren't good preamps, because yes, good preamps are important, but what's on an audio interface today is good. I mean, they're good by any standard, not just by, you know, what they cost or whatever. They're just good, period. So, man, I'm so bad at lacing wheels. Sorry, here we go.
If we fast forward to today, modern home studios, modern audio interfaces, even inexpensive audio faces in today's standards actually sound really good. The preamps are designed to be as clean, as transparent as possible. The DA converters are worlds above what they were even 15, 10 years ago. So in that respect, we're kind of living in a golden age where we've never had it so good for so little money. Now that's not to say having a really great preamp or two, you know, say Neves or APIs or some universal audio preamps isn't a good thing to have, but there's sort of an upgrading priority order that you have to think about. Now you have to remember that everything starts at the source. So if you have a drum kit, heads are beat to hell, cymbals are all cracked and banged up, and the loudest part of your drum kit is that ridiculously squeaky kick drum pedal that you've got? Well, if you take that kit and put it in a fantastic drum room in a big studio, slap $50,000 worth of microphones on it, and track it through a gorgeous Neve console, well, guess what? It's still going to sound like shit because the drum kit itself is shit. So when you're putting your studio together, you always want to make sure that your sources sound really good. Your instruments sound really good. You want to make sure that the room that you're tracking them in sounds as good as you can get it. You also want to make sure that you've got a pretty good grasp on mixing and recording. Because if you don't know what you're doing with this expensive gear, well, then it really doesn't matter because you're not going to get the best out of it. So that would be my recommendation to anybody watching. Make sure your sources are good. Make sure your room sounds as good as you can get it. And make sure that your recording and mixing skills are starting to come together. Get those areas taken care of, and then that's when you'd probably want to start looking into nicer microphones and nicer mic preamps. All right, so hopefully I explained that in a way that makes
nicer mic preamp. What does this thing do that makes it nicer?
Makes sense to everybody watching. If you have any further questions, just leave a comment below. And again, don't forget to check out Mike's channel. I'll have a link.
Look at them all. Do I need a mic preamp? You know, Sound on Sound is the one who did the definitive test where they just absolutely smoked you know, all these claims because they tested all these mic preamps together, and none of these cork sniffers could tell the difference between them. They ended up picking like an Art and a Mackie or something. But I heard that Sound on Sound's been doing some pseudoscience lately. I'm not sure. They were great every time I ever looked, but we'll take a look. But here's the usual suspect, like right here. Do I need a separate mic pre? Let's see what he says to say.
Hello everybody, hope you're doing marvelously well. We're Big Bad and back with another Fact Friday and a lovely giveaway. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, happy, and above all, healthy. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down there. And of course, you can go to Produce Like a Pro and sign up for the email list. But let's get started with the rather amazingly good giveaway. Those of you that watch the channel regularly will know that we go to AES, we pretty much go to every level, decided to start DAW. Because it has Bluetooth connect, know that he can go and walk out in. Imagine if you could just open that up for 8 decibels. So basically a really high SPL, meaning I wouldn't touch. All the little things really help. Okay, so it's designed. This is the OC818. This is the.
Is there a question?
Oh, we also have and love the Steinberg. Now a new tape emulation. Saturation. Waves have got 5, haven't they? They've got 3, the MDX one. They've got they've got 5 different brand new saturators. The answer to your question is, how do you want to record? Are you somebody that wants to go into a great plugin running while you're tracking? If there's probably work around it. That's what's scary. I could probably come up with, given some time, a really beautiful template and maybe a summing unit. Cranbourne springs to mind, really great stuff. And figure out a way that...
I'm sorry. Let's just get back to reality here. Let's see what Sound on Sound says, because I heard some scary things about Sound on Sound lately, but...
Hello, I'm Sam Ingalls. I'm the editor.
If you remember, Sound on Sound was the first magazine who had the balls, so if you look way back in Reaper history, you know, we thought the magazines were going to review it, and when they say review, they mean you may be paying for advertising, you may be, I've heard straight up paying for reviews before, but we didn't pay for a review, and so Reaper never got a review, right? But all of a sudden, Sound on Sound just said, hey, I'm doing it. And when they did that, when Sound on Sound did their review, that instantly made everybody else have to do a review, or else they were going to look like they were not with it. That's pretty funny. So that was pretty cool. I'll always be really grateful to Sound on Sound about that. So.
Editor-in-Chief of Sound on Sound magazine, and I get asked a lot of questions. A lot of those questions begin with the same words. Do I need to go to the shops? Do I need a shower? But most of all, I get asked things like, do I need a mic preamp? And if you're asking that question, what you probably mean is, at the moment I'm just plugging my mics straight into my audio interface, but people on the internet keep saying, dude, that's not pro. If you want to get pro sound, you've got to get yourself a fancy outboard mic preamp and plug your mics into that instead. So, do you need a mic preamp? Well, maybe. There are 3 basic reasons why you might want to add a mic preamp to an existing setup. The first one is simple. You simply haven't got enough mic preamps.
There you go.
Let's say you want to record a drum kit, your audio interface only has 2 mic preamps built into it. You're going to need more mic preamps.
You're probably going to need more interface.
The second reason...
It's not as simple as that unless you have like an interface with a ton of line inputs, right? And those are actually very few of those anymore. You might have an interface that has a bunch of ADAT inputs, which is why I keep making those articles about, 8-channel mic preamps to ADAT, or maybe there's some other format one of these days. But yeah, it's not just as simple as, hey, I'm going to go get more mic preamps and plug them into my interface that doesn't have any more inputs anyway. And how many actual input-output streams does it present to the computer? A lot of times there's a lot of scammy stuff out there where it looks like it's a mixer with a whole bunch of inputs, and it says it's got USB, so you can plug it into your computer, and it turns out it's really only got 2 inputs to the computer. So,
is if the preamps in your audio interface aren't quite up to the job. You want to record the sound of a field mouse scratching its knees, you're getting a vanishingly quiet signal into your DAW, you've got the gain turned up full, you've got nowhere to go. And the third reason is for the sound. You want to add an outboard mic preamp to get that liquid, 3D, solid, full, empty, thesaurus busting, magical sound that some mic preamps are supposed to have. So
I hope that, like you just said, thesaurus busting, and he's right, because that's what it is. It's a bunch of hyperbole. And what do you think? You think this guy's going to actually say that, let me show you why I had the faith in sound on sound. Sorry, I'm really screwed up on one spoke here. Okay, that's the one. Okay, so if we go to sound on sound, mic preamp test. So these two, pick a preamp and postmortem. They go and test a whole ton of mic preamps, and they give it to the cork sniffers and say, hey, pick which one you like the best. And they end up picking like Mackey's or whatever. There's answers in here somewhere. So here's the preamp resultant analysis. So they really like the Art Pro MPA2, the Neve, Mackie. This other one, they ended up picking the Art again. Neve's up there, SSL, API's down at the bottom. I mean, it's just crazy. So this is why I like sound on sound. They're not afraid to do it. Sound on sound, blind tests. So anyway, so let's see what he says.
Do you need a mic preamp? 3 basic reasons why you might want to add a mic preamp to an existing recording setup. And out of those 3 reasons, only the first one is really completely cut and dried. If you want to record more microphones simultaneously than you have mic preamps, then yes, you are going to need more mic preamps. And the question then becomes not, do I need a mic preamp, but how can I add a mic preamp to my existing setup?
I guess I didn't
The
need to
answer
say
to
all
that question is going to come down to what expandability options are offered by your audio interface. And usually that means digital inputs.
Yeah.
If you have a digital input in the SPDIF format, that can take either a single channel or a 2-channel output from a mic preamp that has an SPDIF output. If you have an ADAT optical input on your audio interface, you can actually get up to 8 channels of extra mic preamps using something called an ADAT expander. If your audio interface doesn't have any expansion options, it's time for a new audio interface or a smaller drum kit. So that's the first reason why you might want to add a mic preamp to an existing recording setup. What about the second one? You're recording speech or acoustic guitar or the sound of moss trembling. You've got the gain turned all the way up on your interface preamps and you're still getting a feeble signal level into your DAW.
does that even
Can you
matter?
fix that by buying another mic preamp? Well, yes, you can. But before you do, it might be worth asking whether you really need to,
this is
because the
digital we're
signal to
talking
noise ratio in something like speech is probably only around 40 decibels, and the dynamic range on the inputs on your audio interface is going to be at least 100 dB. So from that point of view, it actually doesn't really matter whether your signal peaks at minus 10 dBFS, minus 20, or even minus 40. All you need to do is record it and then turn it up afterwards in your DAW, and it will be exactly the same signal with exactly the same noise floor. So from a purely technical point of view, low signal levels aren't necessarily a problem in 24-bit recording. From a practical point of view, however, they can be a bit of a pain in the arse.
And
So
psychologically.
it can be very well worthwhile buying an external mic preamp, and the simplest way to fix low signal levels is to get one of those inline booster preamps that sits between the microphone and your existing preamp in your audio interface.
But
These typically add 20 or 25 dB of fixed gain,
But-
and they help to get the signal up to that healthy level where you see nice big waveforms in your DAW.
But
You can also choose to buy an external mic preamp.
no. So you are adding amplifiers, you are adding noise, and when we actually tested this one, right, that did turn out that you were still better off. There was this idea that the last like quarter of your gain, like when you're almost all the way up on your mic preamp, was a lot more noisy than the rest of it. But we tested that, and seemed like everything was pretty linear about the signal to noise. It didn't actually become non-linear. And in that case, putting one of these cathedral pipes or cloud lifters or whatever, you're actually making your signal noisier than not using it. So
preamp and attach it to the digital input on your audio interface.
yes,
But how do you know it's going to be better than the preamps in your audio interface?
measure them.
Well, to find that out, you need to consult the specs. Two specs are key here. One is the gain range in decibels. The other one is the maximum input level in dBu. And if you subtract the gain range from the maximum input level, then you now know the quietest signal level that will trigger a full-scale deflection going into your DAW. So if, for example, the
Assuming
preamps
they
in your
don't lie.
audio interface have a gain range of 50 dB and a maximum input level of plus 10 dBu, an external mic preamp with a gain range of 60 dB might actually be less suitable if it also has a maximum input level of plus 24 dBu. So choose carefully. So the first two reasons for buying a mic preamp are actually pretty boring. What about the third one? Will buying a mic preamp make your music sound better? Well, what it probably won't give you is significantly lower distortion or a flatter frequency response than the preamps that are in your audio interface. It won't put your drummer into time, it won't make you sing in tune, it won't address your questionable production decisions about the melodica part. But what it might do is give you more distortion than the preamps in your audio interface. And that's what people are talking about when they talk about mic preamps having a sound. Pretty much any mic preamp, if you operate it within its comfort zone, will sound the same. When people talk about mic preamps having a character or a sound, they're talking about operating them outside of their comfort zone. That's something you can't do with the preamps on your audio interface, and if you could, it would sound terrible.
Not
So
necessarily.
to push a mic
Why
preamp
is
out
that?
of its comfort zone and get that lovely richness and harmonic saturation, we often need to apply more gain than we strictly need to get the signal up to the right level. When we do that, we overdrive the mic preamp, and if it's the right sort of mic preamp and we've done it in the right way, we'll get that pleasing effect. If it's the wrong sort of mic preamp or we've done it in the wrong way, it'll sound frankly disgusting. But the issue with doing this is that we often end up with a signal coming out of the mic preamp that's actually too hot for the inputs on our audio interface. So what we need is a way of controlling the output level from the mic preamp as well as the input level. For this reason, it can be very useful to have a preamp that doesn't only have an input gain control but also has an output level control or a fader or attenuator as it's sometimes called. Not all outboard mic preamps have these, so it's a feature that you definitely want to look out for if you're buying a preamp purely for its sound. How much difference does it make? Well, if you push it too far, you'll turn your preamp into a fuzz box, and that's definitely not pro. If you're too conservative, you may well not really notice any difference at all compared with the preamp that was in your audio interface already. But if you get it exactly right, there certainly is a sweet spot. If everything in the signal chain is right, you've got the right mic pointing at the right instrument in the right room, being played by the right person, then yes, this can certainly be a good reason to add a mic preamp to an existing setup and help you get closer to the sort of sound that professional engineers are getting from day to day. So I hope this video has helped you answer the question, do I need a mic preamp? And if the answer to that question for you is yes, the next question is, which mic preamp? To find the answer to that question, you need to read Sound on Sound magazine. Every month we review the latest studio